Now, your agreement with her is that she could use the car.
Correct.
Did you have an accident with the car? Don't look up at the sky, look right here.
Yes.
I assume that your girlfriend did not like the fact that your old girlfriend had the car. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out.
You're right.
This is Judy Justice. Kendall Ruiz and Isaac Thompson are suing Isaac's ex-girlfriend, Donna Schulte, for towing fees and car repairs from an accident.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 3025, Maurice Thompson versus Schulte.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Ruiz, this is your boyfriend.
Correct.
How long have you been together with him?
It's been on and off for about...
Like 2.5 years, Your Honor.
And you have a child together?
We do.
How old is that child?
He turned 1 in January.
Do you live together?
We do.
For 2.5 years?
Most of the 2.5 years, correct.
When it wasn't the most, were you living with Miss Schulte?
No.
When were you with Miss Schulte?
3.5 years ago, at least.
When you were with Miss Schulte, were you living with her?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have any
Or
children?
in August.
Do you see him?
Every week. Or every other week.
That going okay?
Yep.
Yep, it's not an answer.
Sorry, yes,
is an
Your
answer. Very good. Okay, now, when you were with her 3.5 years ago, you had a car.
Yes.
And that car was a 2016 Jeep Renegade.
Correct, Your Honor.
In whose name was that car?
The vehicle is in mine and Kendall's name.
When was it put in your name and Kendall's name?
At the time of purchase, it was...
2021.
Yes, it was...
May I have it, please? Thank you. Okay, so it was purchased by the two of you April 6, 2021.
Correct, Your Honor.
And at that time, you two were together.
Yes, Your Honor.
But then there came a time when you had a breakup.
Yes, Your Honor.
When was that?
It was around December of 2021.
And where did you go?
I went back to move in with my parents.
Did you take the Jeep with you?
I did.
Did you have another car, Miss Ruiz?
I actually...
No, he said he took the car and went back to his parents. That was in December of 2021. What I'm asking you is, in December of 2021, did you have another car?
I got a new vehicle, yes.
In December of 2021, when he left. So it was agreed between the two of you that he would take the car, even though it was in both your names?
Yes.
Okay. Who was making payments on the car?
I was, Your Honor.
So that was the agreement. He would take the car, he would make the payments, you would get another car.
Yes.
Great. And then you moved back with your parents. Now tell me how Miss Schulte, with whom you have a child, got possession of the Jeep.
So at the time, I was not able to afford the vehicle.
Okay, so you took it, but you had payments. What were the monthly payments?
I believe they were $367.
So how did it come into Miss Schulte's possession?
I did not need the vehicle as I had another car at the time, and she was in need of a new vehicle. So I offered her the deal that if she were able to put the vehicle in her name and keep insurance on it, that she was able to have the vehicle, but she did not follow any of the rules for the
Well,
agreement.
she can't register. They're not going to allow somebody off the hook. That would be the two of you who are on that loan.
Right.
Right? They're not going to allow the two of you off the hook and just have her on the hook. The loan, as between the loan company and the two of you, she's nobody.
Right.
So she can't register the car in her name unless she pays it off.
That was the idea behind the agreement, Your Honor.
Well, I don't know what the idea was. You mean the idea was that she make the monthly payments?
Yeah, she was to continue making the monthly payments.
That's okay. She can make the monthly payment. She still can't register it in her name as the owner because there's a lien on the car by the people who gave you the money to buy it.
Correct.
So she can't register because there's a lien on it, on your title. Do you have your title?
I do.
And I want you just to look at your title and tell me what it says under lien holder.
It says the bank that has the title to the vehicle.
Right. And they actually hold the title. She can't register it in her name. So in effect, what you said to her was you can use the car as long as you make the payments.
Correct.
Because I can't make the payments anymore. Okay. And then you went back to Miss Ruiz.
Correct.
Okay. And when did you go back to Miss Ruiz? Month. This was in
January of 2022.
that she could use the car.
Correct.
She has used this car as long as she made the payments.
And had insurance on the vehicle.
Okay. Did she make the payment in January?
Late.
Did she make the payment in January?
She did.
What about February?
She did.
What about March?
I do not believe so.
What happened in April? Did you ask for the Jeep back?
I was asking for the vehicle back shortly after giving it to her because she wasn't holding up her end of the agreement. She was not making the payments on time, and she did not have insurance on the vehicle.
She made the payments. She made January, February, and March.
Late,
Now,
which affected my credit.
Well, that's too bad.
Kendall Ruiz and Isaac Thompson claim Isaac's ex-girlfriend, Donna Schulte, owes for towing fees and vehicle repairs from an accident.
Okay. Did she make the payment in January?
She did.
What about February?
She did.
What about March?
I do not believe so.
How long did you have the car?
Until April.
Did you make March's payment?
I did.
Do you have proof of that?
Well, I have 3 payments, so January, February, March.
Yes. The answer, I don't have to see them. I believe so.
She was not making the payments. There was still...
She made January, February, and March. Now we're in April.
Yes, she did not make the payment. We did not get the Jeep back until May 3rd.
Just a second. What happened in April? Did you ask for the Jeep back?
I was asking for the vehicle back shortly after giving it to her because she wasn't holding up her end of the agreement.
What was her end of the agreement? I just told you she couldn't register it in her name because she doesn't have title, neither do you.
I understand that.
Right.
The agreement was that she was supposed to continue to make the monthly payments and she was supposed to put insurance on the vehicle. She was not making the payments on time and she did not have insurance on the vehicle.
No, she made the payments. She made January, February, and March.
Late,
now,
which affected my credit.
Well, that's too bad. That wasn't your agreement. Your agreement was that she was to make payments. There was nothing you agreed that she had to make the payments on time. I assume that your girlfriend, Miss Ruiz, did not like the fact that your old girlfriend had the car that was titled partially in her name. I want you to answer that question, sir. It's a very easy question. You don't have to be a soothsayer and you don't have to have an advanced degree in psychology to know that your current girlfriend and the mother of your child, of your new baby, doesn't like the fact that you gave a car that's in her name to your old girlfriend. Figure that out, right?
You're right.
Oh, right. So old girlfriend didn't like the agreement, but you had made an agreement with her. Now, did you have insurance on the car, and was that part of your agreement? Don't look up at the sky. Look right here.
It was, yes.
Yes. Did you have insurance on the car?
Insurance was on it for a little bit, but then I was trying to find a new insurance company.
So the answer is no.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then he had every right, despite the fact that you made the payments, to get the car back. Because if something happened to that car and you were driving it and it didn't have insurance because you were trying to find different insurance, because actually you have no liability on this thing. If you have an accident, they're going to go after the owners of the car if you have nothing. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. That was your deal, and you breached the deal. So now he asked for the car back because you didn't have insurance on it. You may have made the payments, but you didn't have insurance on it. And you asked for the car back in April.
I asked for the car back numerous times.
I don't care whether he asked the car back numerous times. You had no right to ask for it back until you knew she had no insurance. The reason you asked for it back is because Miss Ruiz didn't like the fact that Miss Schulte had a car.
That is not correct, Your Honor.
No.
Your Honor, I did not have a problem with her having the vehicle because I didn't want to have that she had it. They do have a child together, and I do know that she needs a vehicle to get their child around.
Are you telling me, Miss Ruiz, that it didn't bother you that your name was on the title and therefore you were responsible for that car? And that car was being driven by Miss Schulte?
Correct.
Right. Well, just a second. If the car was just in his name, he can give it to whoever he likes. But it had your name on it.
Yes.
That's psychology 101. She had the car. You have a certain responsibility. You work.
I'm actually a 24-hour caregiver for our son. He has a disability.
Okay. So your lawsuit is when you got the car back, it was damaged.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Did you have an accident with the car?
Yes.
When?
April 25th.
Did you fix the car?
I was going to. I was having somebody.
The question is, did you fix the car?
No, I didn't.
And at that time, you had no insurance on it because your insurance had lapsed.
Yeah.
Do you have a photograph of the car?
I have the police report as well.
I'd like
Would
to
you
see
that?
and the photograph of the car. I'll look at the police report and
Back.
There's
just show it to yeah.
attached to
Does the yellow form show the mileage? They bought it 2021.
I think so. Yeah, take a look. You were told that they were going to report the vehicle stolen unless you returned it. That's what the police report says.
He told me after.
Just a second. Well, you told the police the accident happened in May, on May 3rd. Schulte, police then asked you about the accident she said she was involved in. Schulte said it occurred earlier that day on 5/3/2022 near 1500 block of Grenada North. We asked if you contacted the police. She said she did. Schulte said she struck another woman's vehicle and they both pulled over. Police officer indicates, I felt Schulte was being deceptive when I asked her if she called the police about the accident. And I don't think there's any other police report. Did you file a police report about this accident on May the 3rd?
I'm guessing.
Is not an answer.
I'm guessing that is the day that they called the cops to get the actual vehicle after the accident.
I asked Schulte about the accident she said she was involved in. Schulte said it occurred earlier that day on 5/3. That's what the police report says. You know, there's a saying, if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. You were involved in an accident. The damage was to the front end of the car. You hit another woman's car. Is that right? That's what
Yes,
you
I
told the
did.
police. That's what you told the police. Whatever it is, you're responsible for the damage. She's responsible for the damage. Oh, yeah. It's mostly to the bumper.
In the vehicle, undrivable, there was damage to the transmission and some problems with the oil after.
That's all right. I'm going to take a look at the estimate. I'm going to take a look at the estimate, then I'm going to ask you a question, Mr. Thompson. Take a look and see what
The car?
yeah.
I'm using an 80,000 mile valuation. I don't know how many miles were on it. It wasn't on the form, but it's 10 to 12,000 for a trade-in value based on the 80,000 mile valuation on it in good condition.
Now, you signed an agreement with your lender that until this car is paid off, that you would maintain insurance on it.
Correct.
Did you?
I did not. I took insurance.
Shh. Mr. Thompson, is what you're telling me that you relied on her statement that she had insurance on this car, which is why you dropped the insurance?
Correct, Your Honor.
If you stop making payments on the car, who do you think the bank would come after?
They would come after me.
Because their contract was with you. They say to you, we're giving you this money. In return for that, you have to keep this vehicle insured, and you failed to do that.
Yes.
You can't do that.
Kendall Ruiz and Isaac Thompson are accusing Isaac's ex-girlfriend, Donna Schulte, of damaging their car in an accident.
Now, you signed an agreement with your lender that until this car is paid off, that you would maintain insurance on it.
Correct.
Did you?
I did not. I took insurance.
Shh. You signed an agreement with a bank that you would keep insurance on this car because the car really belonged to them until it was paid off,
Yes, Your Honor.
right?
Yes.
And you did not.
Correct.
When was the last time you made a payment on the car?
The 21st of last month.
The car has been with you since when?
May 3rd of 22.
So a year.
Correct.
And is what you're telling me that you're current in your payments, but you can't drive the car?
Correct, Your Honor.
Where is it currently located?
At my parents' house. It is sitting in the driveway at my parents'.
Mr. Thompson, is what you're telling me that you relied on her statement that she had insurance on this car, which is why you dropped the insurance?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay, and you know that you're not allowed to do that,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So to fix your car is going to cost you, according to this estimate, $6,000.
Correct, Your Honor.
How much do you think of that as your responsibility?
Realistically, none of it.
payments on the car a year ago, who do you think the bank would come after?
They would come after me.
Because she had nothing to do with the bank.
Correct.
Because their contract was with you. They say to you, we're giving you this money. In return for that, you have to keep this vehicle insured so that we're guaranteed to get our money back, right? And you failed to do that.
Yes.
You can't do that. That's going to cost you $3,000 because you have a responsibility. It's going to cost you $3,000 because you breached your agreement with him. He breached his agreement with the bank. You breached your agreement with him. Do you understand?
Yes.
Your responsibility was to maintain insurance on the car pursuant to your agreement, and he had a written contract with the bank to maintain insurance. Did you ever ask her, by the way, to show you proof of insurance?
I did on a few occasions, yes. And she would tell me that there is insurance on the car, but not actually show me anything proving that there was insurance on the vehicle.
And you asked her for proof of insurance.
And I asked...
Just a second. And you asked her for proof of insurance, and she wouldn't show it to you.
Correct.
Often.
Yes.
And you didn't take the car back then.
I tried numerous times. She refused to give it to me.
Oh, yeah, I don't believe that. $3,000 judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
I think it was not correct.
I guess lesson learned from not trying to help people out, right?
It's a little upsetting. I think she's definitely 100% in the wrong. She lied to us numerous times.
Honestly, it was just like a moment where people stop and you just get so busy looking around and you have an accident.
She crashed our vehicle. It's inoperable, and she told us multiple times she would pay and fix the damage.
And now here we are responsible for having to pay for it.
No, it was totally fine after I had gotten to the accident, so I'm not really sure where that information's coming from.
It is not
was
drivable.
not-
it hasn't
does
been
not
driven
work.
over a year
Guess what can you do, right?
because she
wouldn't give it back.
refused to give it back.
He actually didn't tell me anything about that until after he filed their police report,
One of the text messages, she said, I can't give it back.
so I know nothing about like him wanting the vehicle back until after that conversation.
It's upsetting how it turned out.
I'm never going to help him out ever again.
Worry about my own self.
The atmosphere inside the courtroom was heavy with the scent of old wood and the silent weight of unresolved history. This was the hall of Judy Justice, a place where messy lives were untangled to the sharp application of law and common sense. On this particular morning, the case numbered 3025 was called to the stand. It involved three individuals tied together by blood, past romance, friction. Kendall Ruiz and Isaac Thompson stood on one side, their faces a mixture of exhaustion and determination. On the other side stood Donna Schultz, a woman from Isaac's past, whose presence in their current life was as complicated as the legal dispute at hand. They were there to discuss the fate of a 2016 Jeep Renegade, a vehicle that had seen better days, and was now the center of a claim involving towing fees and extensive repair costs. The bailiff called the court to order with a voice that commanded immediate silence. All rise, he announced, and the room moved as one. Judge Judy took her seat, her eyes scanning the papers before her with a practiced, piercing gaze. She looked at the plaintiffs and then at the defendant, her expression suggesting that she had already seen 1,000 stories just like this one. Yet she remained ready to find the specific truth in this one. Have a seat, please, she said, and the proceedings began. Judge Judy began by establishing the foundation of the relationships. She turned her attention to Kendall Ruiz. Miss Ruiz, this is your boyfriend, she noted, gesturing toward Isaac. Kendall confirmed that he was. They had been together on and off for about 2.5 years, a period of time that had seen the birth of their son, who had turned 1 year old in January. They lived together now. The shadow of the past was never far away. Isaac had a history with Donna Schultz that predated his time with Kendall. At least 3.5 years ago, Isaac and Donna had been a couple, living together and bringing a child of their own into the world. That child, a boy, was set to turn 4 years old in August. Isaac saw him every week or every other week, and while he claimed the arrangement was going okay, the judge quickly corrected his casual language, reminding him that in her courtroom, a simple yes was a required response. The story of the Jeep Renegade began in April of the year 2021. At that time, Isaac and Kendall were together, and they decided to purchase the vehicle. The title was put in both of their names, a decision that linked them financially and legally to the car. But as is often the case with young love, the road was not always smooth. In December 2021, The couple experienced a breakup. Isaac moved back in with his parents, and he took the Jeep with him. Kendall, meanwhile, had obtained a new vehicle of her own around the same time. The agreement between them was simple. Isaac would keep the car, and more importantly, he would keep making the monthly payments of $367. However, life grew more complicated for Isaac. Shortly after the split, he found himself unable. Donna Schultz, the mother of his first child, was in desperate need of a reliable vehicle. Seeing an opportunity to solve two problems at once, Isaac offered Donna a deal. He told her she could have the Jeep if she took over the payments, registered the vehicle in her own name, and maintained proper insurance on it. It seemed like a win-win situation on the surface, but as Judge Judy pointed out with biting clarity, the plan was fundamentally flawed from a legal standpoint. Donna could not simply put the car in her name because the bank held a lien on the title. The loan was in the names of Isaac and Kendall, and the bank had no intention of letting them off the hook to take a chance on someone they had no contract with. To the loan company, Donna Schultz was nobody. Despite this legal impossibility, the arrangement proceeded. Isaac returned to Kendall in January of 2022, just 1 month after their brief separation. Now, Isaac was back with the mother of his younger child, while the mother of his older child was driving a car that still legally belonged to him and his current girlfriend. Judge Judy paused to highlight the psychological complexity of the scenario. She noted that one does not need to be a genius or hold an advanced degree in psychology to understand that Kendall Ruiz would likely be uncomfortable with this arrangement. Even if Kendall claimed the child she shared with Isaac to have a safe way to get around, the legal responsibility remained a heavy burden. If anything happened to that car, Kendall's name was on the line. The agreement began to crumble almost immediately. While Donna made the payments for January and February, they were often late, which began to negatively impact Isaac's credit score. By March, the payments had become a source of contention, and by April, Isaac was demanding the car back. His reasoning was twofold. The late payments were hurting him, and more critically, he discovered that Donna had failed to maintain insurance on the vehicle. Donna admitted to the court that while she had insurance for a short period, she had let it lapse while searching for a different provider. This was a critical breach of their informal deal. Without insurance, Isaac and Kendall were exposed to massive liability. If Donna were to have an accident, any injured party would go after the registered owners of the car. That hypothetical fear became a reality on May 3rd, 2022. Donna Schultz was involved in an accident where she struck another woman's vehicle. According to police report, the officer felt Donna was being deceptive about whether she had contacted the authorities. The damage to the Jeep was significant. While it appeared to be mostly a bumper issue on the surface, there was a system that rendered the vehicle completely inoperable. Since the day of that accident, the Jeep had sat uselessly in the driveway of Isaac's parents' house. The tragedy of the situation was compounded by Isaac's own negligence. He admitted to Judge Judy that he had stopped his own insurance coverage on the Jeep, relying entirely on Donna's word that she had it covered. He had breached his contract with the bank, which required him to keep the vehicle insured until the loan was paid in full. Now, a year later, Isaac was still making payments on a car that could not be driven, a car that had essentially become a $6,000 pile of metal and broken promises. Judge Judy looked at the estimate for repairs, which totaled $6,000. She then turned her focus to the concept of shared responsibility. While Donna had breached her agreement with Isaac by failing to provide insurance and then damaging the car, Isaac had also failed in his responsibility to the bank and to himself by not verifying that insurance was actually in place. He had asked for proof numerous times, and when Donna refused to show it, he had failed to take the car back immediately, claiming she refused to give it. In the end, the law required balance. Judge Judy ruled that Donna Schultz was responsible for half of the repair costs, awarding a judgment of $3,000 to the plaintiffs. She explained that while Isaac had breached his agreement with Isaac, the lesson was clear and resonated throughout the courtroom. You cannot sign away your legal responsibilities to a third party and expect the primary contract holder to just accept it, whether it's a car loan or a mortgage. The person whose name is on the paper is the person the world holds accountable. As the parties left the courtroom, the air felt a bit lighter, though the sting of the lesson remained. Isaac and Kendall had their judgment, But they also had the realization that trying to help someone without proper legal protection often leads to more trouble than it is worth. Donna, meanwhile, walked away with a significant debt and the memory of a hard-learned lesson about the importance of honesty and insurance. The court adjourned, leaving behind a story of tangled lives that had finally been straightened out by the firm hand of justice. It was a reminder that in life, as in law, the details matter, and your word is only as good as the actions that back it up. The $3,000 judgment was not just about a car. It was about the cost of responsibility and the price of a second chance. The narrative of the 2016 Jeep Renegade serves as a modern parable about the complexities of human relationships and the cold, hard realities of financial contracts. It reminds us that empathy and kindness must always be tempered with wisdom. Isaac's desire to protect himself and his partner Kendall was a mistake that cost them dearly. As they moved forward, they carried with them the wisdom granted by Judge Judy, that in a world of complicated ties, the clearest path is always the one paved with honesty, transparency, and a valid insurance policy. The case of Ruiz and Thompson versus Schultz was closed, but the echoes of its lessons would likely remain with them for years to come, a silent guide for their future decisions in both love and law. Through the lens of this dispute, we see the value of standing up for oneself while also acknowledging one's own role in a conflict. It is a story of growth, of the messy reality of being a family, and of the ultimate fairness that can be found when one is willing to face the truth in the light of justice. This journey through the legal system provided a resolution that, while perhaps not perfect in the eyes of participants, was grounded in the principles of human decency and contractual integrity. The Jeep might remain broken in a driveway, but the path toward a more responsible future for all involved had finally been cleared of the wreckage of the past. It was a conclusion that emphasized the power of the law to not only settle debts, but to educate and inspire better behavior in the hearts of those it touches. With the gavel's final strike, the story reached its end, leaving a legacy of clarity where there was once only confusion, all of justice, a place where every case is a chapter in the larger book of human experience, teaching us all how to live a little more wisely and a little more kindly in an often unforgiving world. The judgment of $3,000 stood as a testament to the fact that while we may falter, there's always a way to make things right if we are willing to be held accountable for our choices. And so, the sun set on another day of justice, casting long shadows over the courthouse and the lives it had briefly brought together in a search for the truth. It was a peaceful ending to a turbulent chapter, a quiet moment of reflection for Isaac, Kendall, and Donna as they stepped back into the world, hopefully wiser than when they had first entered those doors. The story of the Jeep was over, but the story of their lives, now slightly more untangled, continued on with the promise of a fresh start and the enduring value of a lesson well learned. Everyone involved understood now that a contract is more than just paper. It is a bond of trust that must be honored, no matter how difficult the circumstances may become. This fundamental truth remained a guiding light as they each went their separate ways, leaving the courtroom of Judy Justice behind them, but carrying its wisdom in their hearts. The air inside the hallowed halls of the courtroom felt thick with the weight of unspoken history and the lingering tension of a modern family of reckoning, a moment where the messy reality of human relationships will be laid bare before the sharp eyes and even sharper wit of Judge Judy Justice. The case was numbered 3025, a simple sequence of digits that represented a complex web of shared children, past romances, and a 2016 Jeep Renegade that had seen better days. As the bailiff called the court to order, the room fell into a respectful silence, punctuated only by the rhythmic footsteps of those seeking resolution. Kendall Ruiz and Isaac Thompson stood on one side, their faces a mask of weary determination, while Donna Schultz occupied the opposite bench, her expression guarded and defensive. The judge, a figure of authority whose reputation for cutting through nonsense preceded her, took her seat and surveyed the parties. She began with a series of foundational questions, peeling back the layers of the plaintiffs' lives. Kendall and Isaac had been together, on and off, for approximately 2.5 years. Their bond was cemented by a child who had celebrated his first birthday in January. They shared a home, a life, and a financial responsibility that included the vehicle currently at the center of the dispute. However, Isaac's past was not a closed book. 3.5 years prior, he had been in a relationship with Donna. They took for in August, Isaac saw his older son every week or every other week, a routine that he claimed was going okay, though the judge was quick to remind him that a simple word like that required the dignity of a proper affirmative response. The narrative of the Jeep began in April of the year 2021. At that time, Isaac and Kendall were in a stable period of their relationship and decided to purchase the vehicle together. Both of their names were etched onto the title, a legal binding of their joint investment. But as is often the case with young love, a fracture appeared in December of that same year. Isaac moved back to his parents' house, taking the Jeep with him. Kendall, showing a sense of independence, acquired a new vehicle for herself. It was agreed between them that Isaac would keep the Jeep and, crucially, take over monthly payments of $367. However, life grew complicated for Isaac. Financial stability proved elusive, and he soon found himself unable to maintain the payments on the car. In an attempt to resolve two problems at once, he looked toward Donna. She was the mother of his first child and was in desperate need of a vehicle. Isaac saw an opportunity to help her while relieving himself of a burden he could no longer carry. He offered her a deal that seemed simple on the surface. She could have the Jeep if she took insurance on it. He even harbored the hope that she might eventually be able to put the vehicle in her own name. It was a plan born of perhaps too much optimism and too little legal foresight. Judge Justice was quick to point out the fatal flaw in this arrangement. The car was tied to a loan, a financial umbilical cord that linked the bank to Kendall and Isaac, to the lending institution. Donna was a stranger, a ghost with no standing. They would never allow two responsible parties to walk away from a debt simply because they had handed the keys to a third party. The title remained in the bank's possession, a silent witness to the fact that the car was never truly Isaac's to give away in such a manner. The agreement was, in essence, a private pact that carried no weight in the eyes of the law or the lien holder. By January of 2022, Isaac had reconciled with Kendall and moved back in with her. The Jeep, however, remained with Donna. For a few months, the arrangement appeared to function, albeit precariously. Donna made the payments for January, February, and March, though Isaac noted with bitterness that they were often late, a fact that began to chip away at his credit score. By April, the situation soured completely. The payments stopped, and more alarmingly, the insurance coverage lapsed. Sensing that Donna was failing to uphold her end of the bargain, the courtroom dialogue then turned toward the psychology of the situation. The judge, with her decades of experience, leaned in to address the dynamic between the two women. It did not take a genius or an advanced degree in psychology to understand that Kendall, the current girlfriend and mother of Isaac's new baby, would likely harbor some resentment over the fact that a car with her name on it was being driven by the ex-girlfriend. Despite Kendall's insistence that she only wanted Donna to have a reliable way to transport the children, the legal reality was that Kendall remained tethered to any liability the car might incur. The climax of this domestic drama occurred on a day shrouded in conflicting reports. Donna had been involved in an accident on April 25th or perhaps May 3rd, depending on which record one believed. She had struck another woman's vehicle. At the time of the collision, the Jeep was uninsured. Donna had let the policy lapse while she was supposedly searching for a better rate, a decision that left the owners of the car completely exposed. The damage was significant, particularly to the front end and the transmission, rendering the vehicle a stationary monument to poor choices in the driveway. In the end, the judge's wisdom focused on the concept of contractual responsibility. I keep the car insured until the loan was satisfied. By allowing the insurance to drop and giving the car to an uninsured third party, they had breached their primary contract. Donna, too, had breached her private agreement with Isaac. The judge decided that the cost of the $6,000 repair should be shared. Because the plaintiffs had failed in their duty to the bank and to their own financial interests, they were held partially responsible. Donna was ordered to pay $3,000, a judgment that left no one truly happy, but satisfied the demands of legal logic. As the hearing adjourned, the parties walked away with a hard-learned lesson. A contract is a sacred bond, and trying to bypass it with informal favors often leads to a road paved with regret and broken bumpers. The morning sun filtered through the tall, arched windows of the courthouse, casting long shadows across the polished wooden floors. The air was thick with the scent of old paper and the quiet hum of anticipation. Kendall Ruiz and Isaac Thompson sat side by side, their hands occasionally brushing against each other in a silent gesture of support. They were here to seek justice, but more than that, they were here to close a chapter of their lives that had been fraught with misunderstanding and broken promises. Opposite them sat Donna Schultz, the woman who had once been a central part of Isaac's life, a case that was as much about responsibility as it was about a damaged vehicle. The officer of the court stood tall and announced with a voice that commanded immediate attention that the court was now in order. All those present rose as one, a collective movement of respect for the institution of law. Judge Judy Justice entered the room, her presence radiating a blend of sharp intellect and seasoned wisdom. She took her seat behind the high bench, her eyes scanning the documents before her with practiced efficiency. She invited everyone to have a seat, and the room settled into a focused silence. The clerk announced case number 3025, Ruiz Thompson versus Schultz. Judge Justice looked up and began the proceedings by addressing plaintiffs. She noted that Miss Ruiz and Mr. Thompson were together and inquired about the length of their relationship. Kendall responded with a soft but steady voice, explaining that they had been together on and off for approximately 2.5 years. They shared a life and a child who had recently turned 1 year old in January. For most of those 2.5 years, they had lived together, building a home and a future for their young son. The judge turned her attention to Isaac's history with Donna Schultz. It was revealed that their relationship had ended at least 3.5 years ago, during their time together. They also had a child. August. Isaac confirmed that he saw his son every week or every other week, and when asked if the arrangement was going well, he initially replied with a simple word that the judge corrected, reminding him that in her courtroom, a clear and respectful yes or no was required. The core of the dispute centered around a 2016 Jeep Renegade. This vehicle had been purchased on April 6, 2021, when Isaac and Kendall were a couple. The title and the loan were in both of their names, representing a shared investment in their future. However, a period of separation occurred around December of 2021. Isaac moved back to his parents' house and took the Jeep with him. During this time, Kendall had managed to acquire a new vehicle for herself, and it was mutually agreed that Isaac would keep the Jeep and continue making the monthly payments. The monthly payments amounted to $367. As the months passed, Isaac found himself facing financial difficulties that made it impossible for him to maintain the payments on the Jeep. At the same time, Donna Schultz was in desperate need of a reliable vehicle to transport their son. Isaac saw an opportunity to help the mother of his first child while also solving his financial burden. He offered her a deal. She could use the Jeep as long as she took over the monthly payments and maintained proper insurance on the vehicle, entirely in her name. Judge Justice, with her deep understanding of legal contracts, immediately pointed out a significant flaw in this plan. She explained that as long as there was an outstanding loan on the car, the bank would not allow the original borrowers to be removed from the responsibility. To the bank, Donna was a stranger to the contract. She could not register the car in her name because the bank held the title as collateral. The only way for the title to change hands was for the loan to be paid off in full. Therefore, the agreement was essentially a private arrangement for use and payment, which left the legal responsibility firmly on the shoulders of Isaac and Kendall. By January of 2020, Isaac and Kendall had reunited. The agreement with Donna continued, but the stability of the arrangement began to crumble. Donna made the payments for January and February, although they were often late, causing damage to Isaac's credit score. March was a point of contention, as Isaac believed the payment had not been made, while Donna insisted she had proof of 3 payments in total. In April, the situation reached a breaking point. Isaac began asking for the vehicle back because Donna was not fulfilling her end of the bargain. Not only were the payments inconsistent, but more importantly, the insurance had lapsed. Isaac had discovered that for a more affordable policy. This breach of the agreement was a significant risk. If an accident were to occur without insurance, the legal and financial liability would fall squarely on the owners of the car, Kendall and Isaac. Kendall testified that she did not have a personal grievance against Donna having the car. She understood that Donna needed a way to transport their son, who had a disability and required constant care. However, the fact that her name was on the title meant she was legally responsible for whatever happened with the vehicle. This was not a matter of jealousy or petty emotions, but a matter of protecting their family from financial ruin. The climax of the dispute occurred on April 25th, 2020 high. Donna was involved in an accident where she struck another woman's vehicle. The damage was significant, particularly to the front end, the bumper, and underlying components like the transmission and oil system. Despite the damage, Donna did not immediately return the car or have it repaired. The police report indicated some deception regarding the timing of the accident and whether the police had been contacted at the time of the collision. The Jeep was finally returned to Isaac and Kendall on May 3rd, 2020 high. It was inoperable and had been sitting in Isaac's parents' driveway for an entire year. During that year, Isaac had out of his legal obligation to the bank. He presented an estimate showing that the repairs would cost $6,000. Judge Justice weighed the facts with a balanced hand. She acknowledged that Isaac had breached his contract with the bank by failing to ensure the vehicle was properly insured and by turning it over to a third party without the bank's consent. However, Donna had also breached her private agreement with Isaac by failing to maintain that insurance and by damaging the car while it was in her possession. The judge explained a fundamental lesson of life and law. You cannot simply hand off your contractual responsibilities to someone else and expect the original creditor to accept it. Whether it's a car loan, a mortgage, or a lease, the person who signed the paper is the one held accountable. In this case, because both parties shared a level of negligence, the judge determined that the responsibility for the $6,000 in damages should be shared. She awarded a judgment of $3,000 to plaintiffs. As she adjourned the court, she left the parties with a profound takeaway. Helping others is a noble pursuit, but it must be done with a clear understanding of legal boundaries and personal responsibility. Isaac and Kendall learned the hard way that their signatures on a bank document were a solemn promise that could not be easily delegated. Donna learned that failing to uphold an agreement had real and lasting consequences. As they left the courtroom, the air felt lighter. The resolution was not perfect and the financial burden remained, but the truth had been spoken and a fair middle ground had been found. It was a moment of growth for everyone involved, a reminder that in the eyes of justice, clarity and honesty are the only paths to a positive resolution. The story of the 2016 Jeep Renegade became a cautionary tale, but also a bridge toward a future where they would all be more careful, more responsible, and more mindful of the ties that bind them together.